Hello, boys and girls from the internet. This is Kelly from Nice Idea Productions, and today I'm excited because we're going to be talking about Nikon lenses and F-mount lenses, lenses for mounting onto your Nikon camera and or a Canon camera with an adapter or the Panasonic GH2. We're going to look at the specific settings that you have to set in order to use manual aperture controlled lenses on your Nikon D7000, as well as look at some of the features of these lenses overall. This is going to give you a good idea as to what's out there. The D7000 uses a cropped sensor, which is not the same size as a full frame camera. The full frame camera, the sensor size mimics the size of a 35mm film reel, just like you see here. Nikon has a series of lenses called G series lenses, and these are the lenses that suit crop censored bodies. And so the DX lens here is completely automatic and manual lens, but it has no aperture ring, so you cannot change the aperture on the D7000 while you're shooting video. It is an incredibly sharp lens. Here it is wide open at 1.8, so not a lot of sharpness there. But it's a great lens as far as taking photographs, and also it produces really good results shooting video. Now, I'm not going to be an autofocus snob and say that professionals don't use autofocus. I think that I've shot for enough years and in enough situations to know that sometimes, like when you're on vacation or you're tracking fast-moving objects, autofocus can be a great tool. These DX lenses do have autofocus with the MA switch, where you can do autofocus override at any point by pressing the shutter down halfway while you're shooting video, and the camera will focus for you. So if that comes in handy and you want to use it, go for it. I still use manual focus 99% of the time. Nikon also still makes the D series lens, which has aperture control on the lens. So this is more of a modern lens. In order to be able to use the aperture control ring to change aperture in live view or in video mode, you need to go to your controls menu, you go to F6 in your D7000, and you make sure that your aperture settings are set to OK for the aperture ring. The great thing with Nikon is they still make their manual lenses. You can buy them brand new, and they're great for shooting video. And these are non-CPU lenses, so they have no computer controls. They're not talking to the computer. So what you have to do is you go into your Nikon D7000 settings, you go to the non-CPU lens data section, and you can set up to 10 lenses, which is awesome. And what you want to set is their maximum focal length and their maximum aperture, so of course the smallest number on the lens. And I have my FN button programmed so that I can switch between those lenses. So I just pop them on the front, use my FN button, and then I can switch between those lenses. The cool thing with having aperture control on your lenses is, of course, the Nikon D7000 does not let you change your aperture while you're in video mode, but with the aperture control ring you can on the fly change your aperture. And if you hit your info button on the camera, you can see your light meter. With non-CPU lenses, the camera will automatically focus on the center focus point. You can of course move that focus point around to whichever point you want. The cool thing with mounting a Nikon lens on a Nikon camera, to be able to meter as well as to be able to have focus assist while you're using manual lenses. What I really don't like about the DX lenses is manual focus on it. Now, Nikon makes a bunch of 50mm lenses, a great low light lens. It goes down to an f2. Outside, you're going to be thinking about using a neutral density filter because it only goes up to an f16. So great lens overall. Pretty sharp. It's metal construction as the old lenses are. I actually find myself using this lens quite a bit. Great portrait lens. I find the Nikon lenses a bit truer to color reproduction in comparison to the Canon lenses. Here is the Pacific Ocean with a neutral picture setting, contrast and sharpness down. If you're near a redhead with a Glock, this is what it might look like. Of course, when you shoot neutral, you can add all sorts of filters and you have a lot more leverage to change the look and feel. The next lens we're going to talk about is the Nikon E series 75 to 150 lens. I love this lens for portrait photography. Even though the E series was a budget-minded series of lenses Nikon put out that has a little bit more plasticky construction, and although it has lens creep, this lens is not a variable aperture lens. You don't stop down or anything while you're zooming in or out. You set it to 75, 100, or 150, and then you rotate it to focus. Here's a little footage of some water, again straight out of the camera, neutral picture setting. The next lens up here is the Sigma 2.8. It's a macro lens, and I'd heard reviews that this lens can be a little bit soft, and it can be. You can see here on the right that the flowers are a bit soft. You add a little bit of sharpening and they pop right back out again. But I really love the color reproduction of this Sigma lens. So it just gives you an idea that there are other lenses besides Nikon brand ones for the f-mount. So this is another f-mount lens. This is the Rokinon 85mm f1.4. This is a beautiful lens. This one is the UMC version, which does have a chip that talks to your camera. I did have some issues with the metering, and also I wasn't able to change my aperture when I had it set up. So I'm not sure if that had to do with the lens in particular, or if it was my camera, but I did have issues. But the bokeh on this lens is buttery and delicious. Not a great handheld lens, as you can see here. When you're shooting with manual lenses, there's pros and cons. The con being you have to be pretty damn quick to be able to follow a moving object like my dog here. So there you go, the wrap up. We have 5 lenses here. We have the 35, we have the Sigma 28, we have the Nikon 50, and the 75 to 150, and the Rokinon 1.4 85mm. I hope that gave you a good idea of what is out there for the f-mount lenses, and you'll check some out when you're considering shooting video on your Nikon or other brand camera. Take care.